Well, chaos has obviously gripped this country for months. Good leaders would restore order because the weakest among us are always the most injured by chaos. But we don't have leaders like that. Instead, we have people like Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley.
As we reflect on the life of John Lewis, we've been revisiting many of our what I consider the original architects of the Black Lives Matter movement, okay? Because as we have seen with movements, they will try to co-opt it and undermine it and sanitize it and whitewash it. But the Black Lives Matter activists that are today called Antifa were in the 1960s being called communists, okay? They were just as disruptive and agitating the status quo and just as impatient.
So the real problem, obviously, is our education system. Presumably that person grew up in this country and learned absolutely nothing and could therefore, with a straight face, tell you that the people burning down Wendy's and looting the Nike store are exactly like Martin Luther King. Right, they're the civil rights leaders of our times. They've been to the mountaintop. It's called Chaz. The Senate held hearings on all of this yesterday. Here's how it went.
If this subcommittee wants to protect Americans' right to peacefully assemble, we should be focused on preventing federal officers from beating up protesters, tear gassing them, and shooting them.
Like fellow Democrats in the Senate, Mazie Hirono of Hawaii lied about what's actually going on. What's actually going on is that thousands of Joe Biden voters are spray painting the F word on statues of Abraham Lincoln, racial slurs. Senator Ted Cruz confronted her about the reality of what's happening and about Antifa.
Throughout her remarks, she still did not say a negative word about Antifa, nor has any Democrat here. They instead engage in a political game where they depend. You're welcome to say something negative about Antifa right now.
I think that I've covered the subject quite well. You are not listening.
Okay, she declined to speak, so that is the position of the Democratic Party.
Why is it so hard to condemn violence? We used to think that all of us would condemn violence. Violence? No, they won't. Here's footage of the modern-day civil rights protesters campaigning for justice.
Well, if we did, we'd be in the same problem you are. We're in the same store, bro.
Julio Rosas is a senior writer at Townhall. He shot the footage you just watched. We're happy to have him on the show tonight. Julio, thanks so much for coming on. Why is it so hard to condemn that? It doesn't seem hard to me.
No, you're right, Tucker. It shouldn't be hard, but it's really disturbing to see when you have Democratic senators not call out Antifa by name, especially when you consider that Portland is in day 69 of not just protests, but riots. And I saw those riots firsthand when I was in Portland last week, and I saw how, despite the fact that the Federal Protective Service warned the crowd multiple times to stop throwing fireworks, stop infiltrating the fencing perimeter that had been set up, the crowd continued. And so that forced the officers to have to come out to disperse them away from the fence. And I can say that the rioters made my job a lot harder because when I was recording the officers being attacked, when a rioter would throw a projectile from behind me, naturally the officers would respond with tear gas, pepper balls, and flashbangs in my direction. And so the video that you could see that I captured for Townhall, you could see me having to duck and get behind cover multiple times to avoid getting hit because a rioter would throw something from behind. So it was really quite frustrating for that to happen.
It shouldn't be an act of bravery to walk through downtown in an American city. The feds could shut this down tomorrow, by the way. They actually could, by arresting the people running it, but they're not. Interesting. Julio, thank you for covering this and for the perspective and for your video. Appreciate it.
Thank you.